Hola and welcome to Slowpoke Travel. I'm going to do some computer wizardry and see if it works out. Some screen capturama type stuff because I'm doing some armchair traveling because I'm getting very excited about travel. I haven't looked at a lot of travel stuff in a while because it's been too depressing, but I feel like this year we're going to be getting back in the saddle. So I've been looking at some different locations and some different ideas. Before the pandemic started, we were kind of on the tail end of a trip to Mexico, and our plan had been to go back to Mexico to do a house sit later in the summer, but that was, that ship was scuttled. This summer we're probably not going to be doing any traveling, but hopefully by the fall, later this year, maybe the summer. I don't know how things are going to look, but I'm sort of being excited and optimistic. So I've been doing my armchair traveling, and when I do armchair traveling, of course, I'm looking at YouTube videos. I'm going on Airbnb and I'm looking at different kinds of prices. I'm going to Google Maps and looking for different locations near other locations, things that might be of interest. I'm going on Craigslist and seeing how much things cost. I'm going on Numbeo and looking at the cost of living different places, and that kind of gets me jazzed and gets me excited. But while Mexico is on the top of our list right now, I think we're also looking at different countries in Central America and South America. Ecuador would be interesting. That's always been on our list. Colombia, Panama, Nicaragua. Are pupusas from Nicaragua? Because I love pupusas. I just like to go different places and eat, which is why it would kind of be a no-brainer not to go back to Mexico, because Mexico, we were having such a great time and there's so much of Mexico to see, and we had already planned on going back to Mexico, and the food there is fantastic. We'd spent a couple of winters before, a couple of years ago now. We spent like 5 weeks in Chile. We were going to be down in South America for a while, but life happens, and so we didn't get to do as much of that trip as we wanted. But we spent 5 weeks in Santiago, Chile, which was fantastic. Although it cost a lot to get down there. It cost a lot of money to fly down there. Whereas we can go over to Mexico for not a whole lot of money, which sounds good to me. So, yeah, another Mexico. Now that I'm talking about it and saying it out loud, why wouldn't we go to Mexico? Why would I even look at Colombia or Ecuador at this point? Plus, it'd be cheaper to fly from Mexico to those countries if we decided, we wanted to go from there to there. I'm just interested in going into a place where I can continue doing my Spanish studies, which I've really fallen off that horse, and where the cost of living is, more affordable than, we'd have a hard time, doing what we're doing here in the United States, unless we were really booking the house sits, which we have done in the past. When we left Seattle, I think the first 2 years we were mostly house sitting. We did it in Canada and we did it here in the United States. And when you're house sitting, that is such a savings on your travel costs that you can do that almost anywhere. But if you're not house sitting, or at least for us, it makes a big difference, the cost of living wherever we're at. So that's why Mexico has such a large appeal, such a great appeal. That's better. Because we can stay there and kind of sort of do what we want, and, whether we have a house sit or not. But, the first thing I do when I'm armchair traveling is I check out all kinds of YouTube videos. I go on Google Maps and look at stuff. But Airbnb is really where I do some of my initial searching. So let me get on here. Now, most people have been to Airbnb, I'm sure. If you haven't, Airbnb is the way to go. That's going to give me real information about how much it's going to cost for me to stay somewhere. We like to book things a month at a time so that we get that monthly discount, which can be significant. But even so, you're going to be paying more to stay at Airbnb. Folks ask me, well, why are you paying Airbnb prices? Especially like in Mexico, you're going to be paying 2-3 times, as much as you might if you were just renting a place from somebody locally. But how do you find that? Boom, right after you hit the ground. You're going to have to hustle for that. You're going to have to figure it out. It's going to take a little bit of work. And if you're only going to be somewhere for a month or 2 months, then why do I want to put that effort into that? You know, and take that gamble. Yes, I'm going to save some money, but I'm not going to have the choice, and I'm not going to have the ease and confidence. And it's just, I'm going to have to figure things out, and that's going to be eating into my time, and time is precious because I'm on a visa. Now with Mexico, the great thing is that right off the bat, you know, I get 6 months on a tourist visa. So, I mean, you can't beat that. 6 months, and I don't even have to do anything. I just got to, you know, breeze through the airport, and then I'm there for 6 months. Like if we go to Ecuador, I think it's 3 months. A lot of places, it's just 3 months. But in Mexico, hit the ground, we got 6 months, and then we can leave and come back for another 6 months, I think. But one place in Mexico I'd like to go back to is Guadalajara. Guadalajara, Guanajuato, Lake Chapala. Those are all areas I'd go back to in a heartbeat. So let's do a check-in. Won't be traveling anytime soon, so let's go all the way down to October and look at it. Since I'm going to book for a month, let me do the 4th, so it'll take us through Halloween. So there's 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So 4 weeks would be leaving on the 1st. And I always book at least 4 weeks, or when I'm researching, I always look for that monthly discount, because that's what I'm interested in. I want a nice monthly discount. So put in 2 guests for me and Camera Girl, and right off the bat you can see it's going to give you a monthly price. So $363 for a month. But you know, this is the entire apartment, so that's, you know, that's amazingly inexpensive. But you know, I'll go ahead and narrow this down. So I'll go type of place. I want to do entire place. For price, now I'm not going to be paying, what is this, $15,000, so I'll go ahead and lower this down. I'll lower it down to $1,800, which I definitely don't want to pay, because it'll be more than $1,800. But this way, you know, I'm not going to cut out any crazy deal that I might want to think about. And then I'll go to filters, and for filters, I don't use a lot of filters. I do a kitchen because I like to have a kitchen, because I like to cook. Even though I love to eat out, but you know, we're not going to eat out, you know, entirely if we're going to be somewhere for a month. Of course, Wi-Fi, and then washer. Now, if you put a washer, that's going to eliminate a lot of places, and then this way, you know, we don't have to think about doing laundry. My map, I know I want to be kind of in the city center somewhere, so we'll narrow it down to that. Now, this is still here. The $363 a month place is still on here, even after putting all those filters in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this place. $363. Now, that's not going to be the price. See, this gives you a 31% monthly discount, which is okay. I mean, that's not great. I mean, I like to find a discount that's 50%, or even more than 50%. Sometimes you can find them for 60%. But, you know, they put a service fee, the occupancy fee, but they don't have a cleaning fee on here. So that can really adjust the price. But it's only $460 for the month. So that's super duper cheap. So let me see. Oh, do they have any reviews or anything? Okay, they've got reviews. They've got a nice rating. Okay, so this would definitely be worth looking at. Let's look at the pictures. Now this desk, you know, we work online. See, now this is a super duper small place. You can see there's a bed and the kitchen's right there. So this is super dinky do. So there isn't much to this place. I mean, it looks nice and the price is fantastico. Yeah, this looks really nice. Just right off the bat, I'm not looking at it too close. But this is for a month in Guadalajara. I'm not sure where. Let me go back and find out where it is on the map. So this is kind of, oh, this is in the Americana area too, where we've stayed before. So I'm very familiar with this area. We spent a month here in this area, Camera Girl and I. So this is a really great area for a really great price. I mean, if you were looking for a budget place to stay, that would be a great choice. This here one looks really nice. See, now See, normally it's $14.73, but now they got the monthly price is $1,000. So let's open this. So this is a really nice place, and if you book it monthly, oh, 32%. Oh, it looked like it was more than 32%. But this one has a cleaning fee. It's only 19 bucks, but still $1,300 for a month, which is a lot. But compared to the United States, I mean, this is for $1,300 a month in the United States. You'd be staying in a camper. You know, you certainly wouldn't be in the middle of a super cool metropolitan area. That's a really nice cooking area right there. So this is what I like to look at, you know, when I'm thinking about booking an Airbnb. I just go through and I'm looking for a really nice discount. Now look at this one here, a penthouse in Chapultepec. Normally for $2,100. Now this is down to $1,000. So this is kind of what I'm looking for. So this here is boom. That's a 50% monthly discount. So if you book it for a month, you're going to get $1,000 off. Now this is going to be about $1,300, which is kind of what the other one was. But look at this here. Look at this view. Look at this kitchen. I mean, this is a really nice place. Now I would be showing this to Camera Girl and trying to get her on board with this, because we'd be spending a month here. You know, we'd have a great view. Probably a nice area to work in. Let me see where it's at in the city. So this here is kind of in the Americana area too. It's right off of Chapultepec. So this is a great area too. It's kind of hipsterish. It can be kind of noisy. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to be here because it's too new and hip. And you get a 50% discount. The total price is $13.29 for an entire month. But let's say we wanted to check out like on the 21st. Look at that. The price is the same. You could stay there for 2 extra weeks, you know, just by staying for a month. So if you have the luxury of time and you could stay somewhere for a month, it would cost you $2 more to stay there for a month. So that gets me excited. This tells me that I can stay somewhere, have everything included, and this is with a washer. Now I can go on Craigslist and I can find rentals in the area and check the Craigslist prices, and then see how much more I'm being overcharged by Airbnb, see what the type of prices there are. But that's for longer term, you know, because I want to look at a place. I want to know what the actual cost of living in a place is. That's not Airbnb related, but that would be for down the road. You know, if it was someplace that we were going to return to. You know, if we had a visa for a year or more in Mexico, you know, we would definitely be looking at non-Airbnbs to find a more affordable place to stay. But look at this here, $1,300 a month, and everything's included. Now, you know, that seems high, and it is high, but you know, the cost of living in Mexico, but after the accommodation, I mean, it's a great deal. And to find that out, I like to go to Numbeo. So it's Numbeo, Numbeo. Numbeo cost of living. Here, cost of living, numbeo.com. So I can go here and you can figure out, you know, how much it costs to be in a city, how much the actual costs are. And of course, you know, that's really going to depend on the person, but this will give you a good reference point. Like I lived for quite a while in Seattle, so let me put Seattle in here, and it'll show you the cost of living in Seattle. You know, they'll give you a range right here, as you can see, of costs. And I usually look at restaurants. So for an inexpensive restaurant in Seattle to eat out, it says $17. And that's true. You can find a place to eat in Seattle that's inexpensive for $17, you know. But you can definitely do better than that. But it's not hard to spend $17 in an inexpensive restaurant. They got the range $10 to $30, and that's definitely true. You can do much better than that. Camera Girl and I used to go to a place called Mia's on Capitol Hill, which is right in the heart of Capitol Hill. And we would go there and we would have breakfast, you know, and a nice coffee, full breakfast, and we'd get out of there with tip for $20. So that's much, that's like $10 a person, including tip. So we had a few places like that we knew about, from just living in the area and figuring things out. But if you haven't been to Seattle, I think this is fair. This will give you a good idea. Yes, between $10 and $30, you can find it for $10. You're going to have to look. Most places are going to be more than that. For a mid-range restaurant, 80, 60 to 120. Yeah, Seattle is an expensive place. So I like to look how much it costs to eat out. I don't look at all this other stuff here. Transportation, I don't know. I don't even pay attention to that. We do so much walking. We do Ubering if we have to. And then I go, look at this here, clothes and shoes. I always get a kick out of this. One pair of jeans, $53. One summer dress, shoes. Is that how much new stuff costs? I don't buy new stuff. Go to thrift stores. Especially if you're in Seattle. We had the best stuff in Seattle. We got it all at thrift stores. I like to spend money on food and lodging, and the rest of it, you can figure something out. Now here I'm going to look at rent for an apartment in Seattle in the center of the city. They got it as $21.66, so a range between 17 and 3,000, which sounds crazy, but I can look at these numbers and I can say, yes, I've lived in Seattle, I have lived in the city center, and yes, these are very accurate numbers. You can definitely spend $3,000 you can easily spend that, if you were going to get a nice apartment. $16.87, yeah, you can find that. You're going to be competing for that a little bit. Now, when we lived on Capitol Hill, I think our apartment when we left, and this has been 3 years ago, I think when we left before our new lease was going to come up. I think our rent was going to go up to $14.50, and that was a deal. We had a deal. So it's an expensive place to live. But I can look at these numbers. Just find a place that you're familiar with, like Seattle or wherever you've lived, and look at the numbers and see if you agree with them. And then if you agree with them, then you can have confidence to compare it with another city. So the cost of living in Seattle is that. So now let me put in Guadalajara and compare it to Guadalajara. So if I compare let me do the denomination here in US dollars. Look at these general prices here. So if you look at rent prices are more than 400% higher in Seattle than Guadalajara. Restaurant prices are more than 180% higher than in Guadalajara. Groceries, so you can look here and get an idea that it's much less expensive to be in Guadalajara. So meal at an inexpensive restaurant, they're saying it's $5.63 as compared to the $17. So yes, this is true. I've spent enough time in Guadalajara to know that I can definitely find a meal for this. In fact, I can find it for a lot less than that. A lot less than that. It's easy to go out and eat for a lot less than $5 in Guadalajara. For a meal at a mid-range restaurant in Seattle, they said it was $80. In Guadalajara, they're saying it's $28. And it's, if I'm spending $28 for a meal in Guadalajara, it's not going to be mid-range. To me, it's going to be fancy. That's a fancy meal. I think the most we ever spent on a meal was a little more than $60. Maybe it was $70, including tip for two of us, and that was fancy. Now I'm sure you could spend a lot more than that. They're saying they don't have a fancy restaurant price. They just go mid-range because that's all they expect. But anyway, if you're spending $30 a person for a meal in Guadalajara, you're treating yourself. So $80 for mid-range, sure, definitely, no problem. If we were going out for dinner, we didn't go out for dinner a lot in Seattle. We would eat breakfast and lunch because dinner was expensive. If we spent between $40 and $60, that's what we were shooting for dinner. $80 would have been easy. A lot easier to spend more than that. Let's go down to rent. Let's look at the cost of rent between the two. For an apartment in Guadalajara, in the city center, they're saying $425. And we already saw that Airbnb for about that, a little less than that, compared to more than $2,000 in Seattle. So you can see you know, a huge difference there. And you can definitely find places in Guadalajara for this here. Airbnbs, you know, like a really nice place, you can definitely find Airbnbs for this, but you can definitely spend more as well. Outside the city center, I mean, you know, if I'm going to live in Guadalajara, or if I'm going to stay in Guadalajara, I don't know, you know, I'm going to be in the city center, but, you know, obviously you can go further out and spend a little bit less. But these prices, they sound right to me. I've been to both of these places, spent time there. Yes, these are workable, doable numbers. So, and I've found that to be true. All the places I've checked, I've compared it to Tampa, Tallahassee, New Orleans, different places I've lived for enough time to know that it's true. So I feel confident, like if I go here and I select a city, like if I selected Tampa, Florida, say to Cuenca in Ecuador. Now, I've never been to Cuenca. I don't know anything about Cuenca, but I do know about Tampa. I do know that the prices on Numbeo, I agree with the prices for Tampa. I've never been to Cuenca, but I'm confident in the numbers. So if this says I can find a meal for $3 in Cuenca, I believe it, you know, because I know that everything else on here pans out. Mid-range restaurant, $60 in Tampa. In Cuenca, it's $20. So yeah, so we'll go down the ramp. Now, of course, you know, I'd have to look on Airbnb to see what the prices is. But if I wanted to go and spend a longer amount of time in Cuenca, I could get a place in the city center for about $400 compared to Tampa, which is this price here. Get on Numbeo, play around with some different cities, see if you find the numbers to be accurate, and then if you think they are, then you can put in places that you've never been before and sort of research it that way and maybe feel confident about it. You know, I get on Numbeo and I look for cost of living. I get on Airbnb and look for different places to stay. If I find an Airbnb that I like, then I will go to Google Maps. Let's say Mexico, and then I'll hit Maps, and then I'll go down and I'll go to Guadalajara. And if I find a place like an Airbnb that I want to book, you know, I'll try to figure out where it is. If I know it's in the Americana area, and I'll just put myself down on the street. And sometimes I can actually find the building. I can actually find the Airbnb, you know, using the information I can glean. And I'll find the actual place where we're going to stay, and I'll just tool around. You know, I'll find the location, and I'll tool around and I'll look and see if that's a place where I want to go and stay. You know, I'll also look and I'll see if the Airbnb's there. You know, and I go on Google Maps and I see that there's a whole bunch of bars across the street or just down the street. Well, maybe that'll make me rethink wanting to stay there. But Google Maps, Numbeo, Airbnb are three of my biggest tools when I'm doing some armchair traveling. So I don't know, this video is probably kind of a waste of time, maybe for a lot of folks. But you can see I get excited just talking about it. If you're doing the type of traveling, or you want to do the type of traveling that we're doing, and if you utilize Airbnbs, definitely check those monthly prices and find a place that has a 50% discount, you know, as opposed to a 30% discount. And I've seen them for 60% discounts. You know, you can find a really nice place that's probably fancier than you would regularly stay at. You might find prices that work. Ooh, look at this here. You see they got a thing here. I just noticed this here on this penthouse in Chapultepec area. They've got a noise warning. Located in one of those trendy and visited neighborhoods, blah, 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 noise. It can get a little noisy at night. That's very true. So, I don't know. That might make this a no-go for me. But, you know, that might be up your alley. You know, if you're a young person and you don't know any better, you know, you think it's cool to stay up past 9 o'clock, you know, this might be for you. But for a guy like me that likes to be hitting the pillow at 8:59, then maybe I'll keep on looking. But that's my armchair travel regime. And like I said, I also do Craigslist because I'm really curious about looking at non-Airbnb prices. Although Craigslist, you know, I wouldn't never book anything on Craigslist. I would just get that for an idea. I don't know. I think Craigslist, I don't know. That can be a little shifty, I think. But I do think you can find some real opportunities on there. I mean, I found my apartments in New Orleans. I think I found them all on Craigslist. Or what, no, that's not even possible. I don't think Craigslist was a thing. But I know I have found apartments on Craigslist later on. Because when I first started living in New Orleans, there wasn't even the internet. And then you go around and then you just look for rent signs, which I think is what we would do if we were going to be in Mexico for a longer period of time. We would just book an Airbnb. And then we'd hit the streets looking for a serenta. Does that mean for rent? Looking for places to live like that. But maybe this will give you some idea if you're not into armchair traveling. This is what I like to do. Obviously, I'm getting excited about travel. And I'm getting excited about brushing up on my Spanish. And getting me some real tacos. I tell you, the food in Mexico, it was so good. That's another thing, that's why it'll be hard to go somewhere else first. Chile was a great place to visit. I would love to go back to Chile, and I hope we do go back to Chile. But the food in Mexico is hard to beat. And I'm hungry. I think I'm going to be lobbying for Mexico. But time will tell. Check out our Mexico videos if you have an interest in Mexico. And get on Airbnb, get on Numbeo. Check how much it costs to live in these places compared to other places you've visited and where you live right now. And maybe it'll get you excited about traveling. You do not have to be rich to travel. Camera Girl and I feel like we have a luxurious lifestyle, but we are not rich. Oh my God, we are not rich. I think we left Seattle our first year. I think we've been making just a little bit more than $30,000 a year for the both of us. But we don't have anything. We don't have anything. We don't have a house payment. We don't have a car payment. We don't have stuff. So we can travel because we don't have anything. We don't have anything. So that's what I always said. People always ask me, like years ago, because I used to travel around a lot, and people knew I didn't have any money. I was always at the thrift store buying stuff, and I've always, I used to take Greyhound everywhere. I hardly ever had a car. I just haven't had. A lot of times in my life, I've kind of sort of looked like a bum. Although I've never been a bum at all, but I have had big stretches in my life where I haven't worked. Although I would work for concentrated periods of time, doing seasonal resort work, cooking at hotels, waiting tables, at restaurants, and just basically working in the service industry in resort areas, saving up money, then going backpacking or just moving around to different places seasonally. And the reason that I could do that and live in interesting places, I used to live in the French Quarter, New Orleans. I've lived in quite a few places in New Orleans, but when I lived in the French Quarter, and I would go to work and everybody thought I was rich. They were like, "You live in the quarters?" Like I'm some rich guy. The reason I could live in the French Quarter was because my place was so small that if you had a couch, you couldn't live there. There was not room for a couch unless it was a fold-up couch that you were also going to sleep in. So that's the key to traveling and not being rich, which is easy to do. You just don't have anything. I've always been semi-nervous if I couldn't put everything on my backpack. I've always liked being able to carry everything that I own. There's the saying that you don't own your stuff owns you. And man, I buy into that 1,000%. Thanks for checking out our stuff, and have more interesting stuff eventually. The videos are going to be so good later in the year. In the future, our videos are going to be so good. Oh, I can't wait.